started, but in interest of time, we need to get along. So welcome. Thanks for coming, taking the time to learn some good stuff today from our folks at Health Support. So Rich Loftus comes all the time with us. He's my partner in crime since I've started this job many years ago. He's done wonderful things for us. And Julie Wells. New name coming soon. She's going to be our dietitian giving us our presentation today, which some of you may have seen her before. So I'll let you guys take over.
I am going to mention once again, but fewer words, October, Women's Health, screening mammogram, important message for every woman in this room. Bon Secours is inviting every woman to have her screening mammogram at one of our imaging centers. 3D mammographies are available at each one of those centers. Every woman who schedules her mammogram for the month of October receives a manicure kit, nice little pink leatherette with a Bon Secours, and is entered for a drawing for a pink Coach bag. Now, for everyone in the family, and great for friends who do not have health insurance or family members who do not, free drive-through flu clinics. Literally, you drive up to Harborview or Maryview Medical Center or DePaul Medical Center or Mary Immaculate on the peninsula. You drive up, you fill out the form that is standard for all flu shots across the country pretty much. You roll forward, they inoculate you, there is no cost, you do not need to have insurance, you do not need to show proof of insurance, and I have seen, I believe they have pediatric doses. There's more information on the web at Bon Secours. These flyers are in the rear of the room. Julie Wells is a registered dietitian. Registered dietitians are maybe a little bit different than simply a nutritionist, because they know where the food comes from, how it is made, how it changes your health, and they do that as a partner to physicians. Most of her clients are actually referred to her by their physicians for celiac disease or diabetes or cholesterol management or some other issue. Her diet can help. She's the expert. I'm turning it over to her.
All right, thank you, Rich. All right, well, good afternoon, ladies. And so, as you can see, we're going to be covering two presentations today. The first one's going to be a little briefer, and then we're going to spend some more time in the second one. So first, we're going to be talking about lunch, better brown bagging it. So has anyone had lunch already? So we'll be having lunch after? Okay, so maybe this will help you kind of relook at your lunch here, but it'll even help you more so in the future. And so how can we make lunch a little more exciting? We're also going to be talking about what different food components to try to include when you're making your lunch. Because sometimes lunch can be kind of blah, and we just want to talk about how can it still be a meal that you enjoy. It's going to fuel you for your day. It's going to give you the mental energy that you need, and you just feel good eating it. And also, it tastes good. And so, like I said, we're going to get started here, and then afterwards, some of y'all can see, we have some different milks on display. We're going to be talking about different types of milk beverages, because there's just more and more coming out in the market, and sometimes it's like, well, should I drink this or this? I hear this. What's actually good for me? We're going to dive into that, and then you can even sample too before you go. All right, so we're going to start with better brown bagging it. So briefly, we're going to just kind of talk about review, healthy eating, as some of y'all may know. So what is it? What do we see here? Variety of foods, right? So we don't just want to eat just fruits or just protein, but think variety. Think also lots of color, because that's where you're getting a lot of these important nutrients, especially your vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, fighting against inflammation, disease in the body. So we do want a nice variety. And also, we got taste buds for a reason, so we want some different flavors. And so why? Why do we want variety? It's maintaining good health, you feel good, and hey, you have energy. And a lot of y'all have jobs that take a lot of mental energy, and so eating well is gonna help you to do your best there. Alrighty, so fruits, vegetables, lean protein, whole grains, healthy fats, low-fat dairy, which we're gonna be coming to dairy here in a little bit. So those are kind of just That's your variety. Think of all those different foods. How can you begin to incorporate them throughout your day? But we're also really going to be zeroing in, like I said, to lunch. How we can make lunch more balanced, giving it variety, so it's giving you the fuel that your body needs. So balance is definitely a key word. As you're going to see here, some of these words highlighted in bold: protein and fiber. I want you to think definitely each meal, but think about lunch here. Does my lunch have protein? Why do you think, let me ask you without kind of looking on the screen, or you can. So why would protein be important to include at your lunch meal? Why protein?
Brings you energy.
Helps to fill you up more, yeah?
And the energy, yeah.
Yeah, That's a big thing. Yes,
The more
because
stable energy than sugar, which
true. Like if you just ate a wonderful salad, all greens and vegetables, which again is good for you, but if you're missing protein, what do you think is going to happen?
in an hour you're going to be hungry.
Yeah, you're going to be hungry. You might be knocking on that vending machine, and then kind of sets you up for maybe not making the healthiest choice. But yeah, definitely having some good lean source of protein there. But also your vegetables are full of fiber, which is good. And also beans and fruits and whole grains. So more of the fiber too is more filling. Think F for fullness, definitely more filling. And like y'all ladies said, energy. So there's some examples. We're going to talk about sandwiches, but then we're going to talk about things like, well, maybe I don't do a sandwich. Maybe that's not my thing. But if you are doing a sandwich, change it up, ladies. There's so many different types of vehicles. Like, it doesn't have to be just bread, but maybe you like a pita, or maybe you like a wrap, or those little sandwich thins, or even English muffins. There's different ways that you can, just changing up the vehicle, the bread, can really just make it a little more interesting. And there's some examples of your lean protein fillings. It might even be things like chicken salad, or I know we have eggs and tuna, low-fat cheeses, or if you're going more vegetarian, you might even be doing maybe a portobello, mushroom, even something like that. But yeah, think about, where is my protein coming from? Something that's going to give me that fullness to help hold me over through the afternoon. Like I said, keep it interesting. Think about your different types of breads here. We talked about those. Even crackers. I just recently watched the movie The Terminal, and I saw him in the food court using crackers, because that's really all he had, but as his little sandwich. But you could even use crackers as your vehicle, as your sandwich. And then think about, okay, well, what am I putting on this sandwich? What are some of y'all's favorite toppings to put on a sandwich if you're making something? I know we have some here, but is there something else that you could share with the group that you're like, I've really found that this is just, it's more interesting, it's flavorful, any type of spread, anything that you've tried you can think of? Hummus, yeah. That's a great spread. And there's so many different variety, different flavors. Hummus, Avocados, yes, yeah.
Hummus taste, I've never really had it. Is it got its own unique taste? Or it's,
It does. How would I describe hummus?
I
Yeah.
would just do like
So
Just-
it's made with chickpeas, so it's kind of grainy, It depends, a lot of them are flavored too.
well,
Which
which is
tastes like, what does it taste like?
Yeah, just the original. There is like the garlic one, has garlic. Most hummuses have garlic added, but yeah, maybe just because there are red pepper hummuses, even black bean hummuses, but maybe just try with the original.
Mashed potatoes almost.
Yeah, it's very creamy. Yeah, but it's a nice spread. Instead of like mayonnaise, guacamole or even hummus. And then those are some nice spreads. So those two. But yeah, think about it. This is also a great opportunity to get in some more veggies onto your sandwich, whether it's different lettuce greens or something crunchy like cucumbers or even shredded carrots. And this even too, if you're thinking, well, I'm not going to take all this time to get this ready, maybe night before, or even on the weekend, do your ingredient prep. Maybe that's where you kind of make your refrigerator into a salad bar where you have these different things ready that you just kind of throw in. That way it saves you time, because if you try to do it the morning of, I know I've been there, I'm not going to have a very balanced lunch. I'm just going to here, there we go. But night before, on the weekend, do a little ingredient prep. That can help you to kind of get, so you have a little more interesting sandwich, but it's also going to be balanced and helpful for you.
We do ours in little mason jars.
Oh, you do?
On
Oh,
Sunday.
oh. Now is that for is it like a salad, or is it for?
It can be either a salad or a sandwich. We make it so
Oh.
it can be either one. That way we
Oh.
don't have to have a salad.
Oh, that's nifty. Okay. I like that idea too, so it's versatile. You're right, you could either do it as a salad, or maybe I'm just going to use this filling to put in my sandwich.
You just layer different
Yeah.
things.
Yes, we just layer different things. That way you can grab it and run.
Very good.
So that's nice too. There we go. Time saver.
Mhm.
Yeah. You
And
can do
same
whatever you
thing with
want.
leftovers. We go ahead and we'll cook a big pot of spaghetti or chicken pepper pasta or whatever, we also put them in separate glass containers. We use glass so that we can reheat it in the microwave if we want to.
Yeah.
Plus,
that's great
it
too.
doesn't retain any other prior food smells or whatever.
Right, yeah. So that is a good idea. Alrighty, so here we go, ladies. Here's some other just different, unique kind of things. Maybe I never thought to make a sandwich that way. And so even like, who would have thought? Fig, goat cheese, caramelized onion sandwich. Like, that doesn't have to be just something you get at a sandwich shop, but you could even do it yourself. You know, if you're like, because even to, you know, with lunch, you know, sometimes we just don't, you're right, we kind of think, well, it's just my lunch. But even to, like, instead of using plasticware, even using like a real fork, like a real, bringing your silverware that you would have for dinner, that just makes that even a little more special. Or even using a cloth napkin versus a paper napkin. Even little things like that can make your lunch seem a little more special and just, you might enjoy it more. But yeah, even kind of thinking, even roasted eggplant, if you're going vegetarian, zucchini and chickpea wraps. You know, but you can be inspired by sandwiches you might have out somewhere. Well, why don't you recreate that and even have that something that you could make and have during the week? And even tofu sandwich, peanut ginger sauce. All right, okay, like I said, you may not be a sandwich fan. I'm talking all about sandwiches. Maybe like, that's just not my thing. I'm not into all the bread or the pita. And so, as we already had some ideas, what about, you're right, your salad greens. Maybe you are gonna use the mason jar idea and just kind of layer things. You know, keep your salad dressing. You probably have that separate.
I do.
Yeah, so it doesn't get all
Actually, the lettuce
soggy.
and the salad is separate from the mixings.
Okay.
Because otherwise, we have more salad.
Mm-hmm.
So the mixings will have a small bit of lettuce on the bottom, or either the top, I can't recall, depends on what we're putting in. But anyway, the big lettuce is in its own little container, and the dressing is in its separate container too, so it doesn't make it soggy.
Right,
Now,
exactly.
we do put salt, pepper, or we use adobe seasoning a lot to give it something different, garlic. Because we're trying to steer from salt. So
Yeah, so some other different, what your
those
flavors
actually
are.
put inside the mason jar because we want that to go ahead and accentuate the veggies.
Right, yeah. And that's really, you kind of make it, you make it your own with your different flavors. And so, you're right, maybe you are doing a salad, maybe you're just kind of doing some other like vegetables, but again, think about your different proteins here. So there's some examples, your lean meat, hard-boiled eggs. You could even hard boil up like 10 at a time and like have them throughout the week. That saves you time, but that's a good source of protein. Lean cheeses, beans, good source of fiber, filling. And then, we just talked about keeping your dressing separate so it doesn't get all soggy. Some people don't mind a soggy salad, but you might just want to keep that separate. And last night's dinner, hey, just make extra. That way you don't even have to think about it. You just kind of pack away, okay, some of the extras, put in your little maybe glass container so you can reheat it up. Hopefully you'll have a microwave in your break room. But then, just make a little extra so it saves you time, and then you know, okay, what I had for dinner. If you don't mind leftovers, it gives you a nice balanced lunch for the next day. I know I'm a big fan of trying to do that. And so, any questions there? Any feedback? Any other ideas that maybe something you've tried that you'd like to share with the group? Before we transition to some other ideas. Yes?
Grilled veggies. I mean, I'll literally do them on the grill and do more than is necessary, and that becomes the foundation for either more meals or more lunches. And another thing that I like to add are nuts. I'll buy the big bulk nuts at Costco, like the pecans, which you sort of have to take out a loan to buy. You can buy small quantities. If you buy large quantities, it's a good thing. Since I have problems with keeping my HDL cholesterol up, it's a reminder for me to use things like that. Chicken, cut the mayo, maybe add some dried cherries, celery, fresh herbs.
Okay, to make your
You know,
chicken salad.
For salad or sandwiches.
Yeah. And you're right, nuts too, like a little bit of nuts, even if they're toast, it adds a lot of flavor and that crunch. So they have different textures too at a meal, just make it more interesting. But also there might be those times where I didn't prepare as well, I don't have leftovers, I didn't get to make my sandwich or my salad. There are some convenience foods, so here's some good guidelines, and this is good on your paper because I know we have a lot of numbers here, But these are some good general guidelines. Maybe you are doing that frozen meal. It's kind of like your emergency. If I don't get to prepare well, I do have this as a backup. And there are ones that can work. So look at your guidelines here, especially for the sodium if you're trying to watch that for blood pressure, keeping it to under 700 to 800. And then watching the carbohydrates, keeping that to under 50. They're just some good guidelines as you're comparing the different ones to see, okay, what's important to me if I'm really trying to watch sodium here or with this, making sure, okay, I got enough protein because I know that protein is going to help to fill me up. And then even too, with some of those frozen meals, you can supplement. Maybe you have a piece of fruit to go along with it or a little yogurt cup. There's ways that you can supplement. But yeah, it's good to just have these on hand just in case. Is anybody, any of the frozen steamer bags for vegetables? Anybody into using those?
We use them sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice time saver, you know, frozen veggies. And again, that's a great way to just kind of add some more vegetables to your lunch, something filling, but also good for you. It's already cut up and ready to go. Just got to steam it up.
Sometimes our
Yeah.
veggies go bad quick. So
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you think you got that broccoli in there and you open the drawer, it's like, okay, not tonight.
Steamer bag.
Yeah.
Steamer bag of broccoli. Yeah. And then drinks. Lunch would not be complete if we didn't talk about our beverages. So, because sometimes we don't think about that. We don't think about, well, what am I really drinking? Why am I drinking this? Often it's for hydration, but it could be for flavor. So just first of all, think about the money that you might be spending. You know, if you were to kind of like keep track, even for a week, how often am I using the vending machine or even the beverages that I buy? That could really add up. And then, well, do I really want to be spending all that money on beverages? Or here's some other ideas to try to save, but still have a beverage that's going to be better for you. Is like, yeah, even buying your bottled water, you know, flavour it yourself with some lemon, or if you like a little bit of carbonation, the seltzer waters, or even the sparkling waters. And then there's things like Crystal Light or True Lemon. That's ways to add flavor to your water, but not all the calories and the sugar.
It's nice to know that beer is the less calories out of all of those.
Oh. Oh, it actually is, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But that's it too, yeah.
Policy from now on.
Look, what we do at home stays at home.
What you're bringing to lunch, yes. So yeah, think about even some of these coffees, or if you're doing a fruit juice or a soda, just think about too, if you're concerned about weight, well, am I drinking a lot of calories here? Am I drinking a lot of sugar? And even too, when you get a lot of that sugar from those drinks, it gives you that spike of energy, but then what happens, ladies?
Crash.
You crash. And then you're like, I need some more carbohydrate. And then you're after the vending machine or some more food. It just kind of sets you up for this cycle. So water definitely is your best beverage. Gonna save you money, keep you hydrated, and also save your waistline too. But then there's still ways you can flavor it so it's more exciting. And snacks. And Rich did pass this handout out to you all. So this is a great resource if you're like, I just need to kind of change up my snacks, or what actually comprises a good balanced snack. So as we talked about before, as you think about your lunch, definitely trying to think of some protein and some fiber and a little bit of carbohydrate as like all nice balance for a snack. And these give you ideas. Because even sometimes, you know, again, it's good to have a snack as like if I need it, if it's going to be a long time till dinner, that mid-afternoon snack can really help to pick you up, give your body that energy that it needs to get you through the rest of the day. And so it's always wise, something non-perishable to keep at your desk, in your purse, you know, just to have on hand for when you need it. It can also help to prevent you from going to whatever sweet might be in the break room. Oh, I know I got something. That's actually going to help to satisfy me. And that's where that protein and fiber come in. That's what helps to fill you up. If you're kind of given the craving for something sweet, having a little bit of protein with a piece of fruit can help to kind of curb that craving. So there's some ideas for you. But like I said, this is good right here, what you got in front of you. Lots of ideas. And so kind of seeing what kind of sounds good to you with that. And then I know we got a lot of information here too, but you're right. We're talking about all these different ideas, but what are some things to always have on hand so you can make a nice balanced, healthy lunch? That's not going to take a lot of time. So even just things, you're right, you can kind of grab and go. But here's some ideas, things to have. Even those tuna pouches or the salmon pouches, like you could even take one of those with you and dump it on some greens, or even eat it right out of the pouch with some cut up veggies. Even like little things like that. And so, yeah, there's some ideas for y'all, just things to always have on hand so you can just grab and go. Because you're right, sometimes we don't think much about lunch, but it is still a very important meal because it's while we're at work. You know, we need something to help hold us over, give us the energy and fuel that we need. And also by eating a balanced lunch can help you later for dinner to not go crazy because you're not incredibly hungry. That's also where that snack is beneficial. Helps to hold you over. But we still have another presentation. So, but do y'all have any questions? I know maybe I went through that a little quickly, but do y'all have any questions about anything brown bagging or any ideas, anything you'd like to share with the group?
I do have a question.
Yes.
The question is, do we put too much importance on our dinner and our dinner calories? Do we load too many calories into our dinners and not enough distributed at lunch or breakfast?
Well, I guess that could be a personal question too, because some people tend to eat a heavier lunch and they may or may not eat dinner, or they might eat a lighter dinner. But maybe that's a question to ask yourself too, because yeah, really with lunch, that can be, you're right, some people don't want to eat a real heavy lunch because then they know I'm going to get kind of drowsy, kind of tired, but that's where it's great to have a lot of vegetables and like some lean protein, so it's not too heavy, but something that can, yeah, fuel you but not weigh you down so you're tired. But you're right, it's kind of maybe thinking, I think that really is a personal question, kind of thinking about what does my day look like? Am I giving balance to breakfast, to lunch, to dinner? Am I totally overlooking lunch? Is that where really my weak area is? And I just kind of, whatever, anything goes? But maybe kind of think for yourself, where do I need to maybe begin to work on making some improvements, some small changes? You start small. So maybe it's like, I don't have any vegetables at lunch. How can I add vegetables? Or I've been completely forgetting protein. That's why I've been so hungry. Maybe how can I begin to add protein to lunch? So see how maybe you can create a better balance, or maybe you just want to add more variety to lunch. You're bored of the same old thing, sandwich every day, PB&J. I need something different. So yeah, so kind of think it through.
So, do you think it's true to say that it depends on the person? Because I've heard people say it's best to eat a large breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then some people, they can't tolerate a large breakfast. They just, can't. Then some people do, as he said, wait until the end of the week, I mean the end of the day, to eat more at dinner time.
Yeah.
So what is really best for you?
You're right, because with some people with breakfast, you're right, some people don't eat breakfast, they're not used to eating anything in the morning, or it might just be something light, or they just may not feel well if they eat a lot. But it's definitely important to eat breakfast. And that's where I kind of think about the balance. Okay, some protein, some carbohydrate. You don't always get vegetables at breakfast, but at least getting those two. And then I guess the main thing with like having a really heavy dinner, and that's very common in our culture. Like in Europe, they tend to have a larger lunch and a lighter dinner. But if you think about if you eat a real large, heavy dinner, how active are we after dinner? And when might we be going to bed? We tend to not be as active. We're winding down. We're going to turn on the TV. And so do I really want to eat this really high-calorie, heavy meal if I'm not going to be very active? So maybe maybe I want to make dinner a little lighter. Or how can I begin to add some more vegetables, maybe not as much of the protein and the starch? So taking a look at your dinner, but that is common in our culture. That's kind of how we are. But with lunch, you're right, maybe it can be more helpful to have a little larger lunch, because that gives us more time to kind of work it off. That's kind of the main, when you think about the different meals. But hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too, with variety, I mean, I think I do pretty good at mixing up different foods and different things, but I always, every now and then, like this week, I've been kind of into, I've had like a sandwich for breakfast instead, like a turkey sandwich instead of a breakfast food, or breakfast for dinner. My kids love breakfast for dinner, even now they're older, and they're like, let's have breakfast for dinner.
Yeah. And really with breakfast, I mean, it doesn't have to be our typical Western, what we typically do for breakfast, lots of cereals and pancakes or eggs and sausage. It could be like a turkey sandwich. It could be what you had for dinner.
Cold pizza.
Oh, good. It has all the food groups. But breakfast can be whatever you want, really.
As a dietitian, where do you stand on processed foods?
I guess it depends how you define processed foods, because a lot of things are processed.
I know, and that's just the problem right there. But whenever you start looking at the labels on everything, there's so much bad stuff in them. So where do you draw that line? I mean, I have done the paleo, I've done the keto, I've done, tried to stay away from all breads, all, you know, and I know I've read a lot to where it's like, you limit food groups, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna be a long-term type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be better for you to eat whole foods than it is any processed foods. And
So-
can you get enough nutrition? I mean, do you balance everything out if you just eat whole foods?
You can, but yeah, you're yeah. When you do define process, because even like cut up, like the cut up, fruits you find. I mean, you could say that's processed because it's been cut up. But you're right. You're talking about a lot of the preservatives and things that are
I'm talking
added.
about anything in a can,
Yeah.
anything in a box, anything that has been basically preserved to shelf life type deal. Even the cucumbers. The cucumbers have that wax and everything. Are you going organic? Or are you not going?
Yeah, and that's really kind of comes down to you as an individual also, like, well, what's most important to you? For some people, they're like, buying organic is very important to me. And for some, it's a budget thing. They might just be like, well, these are some things I can afford. But fruits and vegetables in any form is going to be better than none as far as with that. But you're right, maybe I'm really concerned about the sodium in a lot of these packaged foods, because that's one of the main things, a lot of the preservatives or maybe the added food dyes. If you're trying to maybe go more whole foods, checking your ingredients is key. Definitely keeping to, as they say, even the perimeter. But there are still some healthy things you find in the center of the store. Like, maybe that's where you find your different grains, like your rices, your pastas, your quinoa, things like that, your different beans. But yeah, if maybe you're trying to, it really kind of depends, what things are you trying to maybe limit in your diet? And that's where it can kind of help to answer the question. But you can, I think coming back to your main question too, you're right, eating whole foods, it is the best. It's how, you're right, it's like, there's nothing added to them. That way it gives you more control over the spices and the seasonings. And you can still definitely on a budget eat healthy on, foods in season, what meats are on sale, and then even buying the store brands. But you can still, by eating fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, we'll talk about dairy here in a moment. And then, what did I forget? Grains. And then, but yeah, you definitely can. It just kind of creates more, you have to be intentional though, creating that balance. Yeah, creating that balance. That helped a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, maybe we'll come back to that.
Nobody's 100% pure.
No, yeah, it's gonna be challenging. Yeah, it's gonna be challenging.
Right.
Yeah. So, but let's see, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna have time in the end for questions and sampling. So if y'all have some other questions, but I did want to talk about milk. And it's not just dairy milk. We're gonna talk about some other different types of milk that, well, let me first ask so I can know my audience, who consumes any type of milk, whether it's, well, actually no, I'd like to know who consumes cow's milk? Okay. All right, what about soy milk? Alrighty, wow. Okay, what about rice milk? Okay, cashew milk? Okay, almond milk? Okay, what did I forget here?
Coconut.
Coconut, anybody coconut? Okay, okay.
Very cheap.
Yeah, goat's milk, anybody? We do have it up here, you can try it today.
From Walmart, too.
So, but the majority, is cow's milk, which that is the most common. That definitely is most common. And so we're going to talk about with all these different types of milk and really thinking about, well, when do I use it? Why do I use it? Just so you can kind of see, because people choose different milks for different reasons. Maybe, it could be a cost thing, it could be a flavor thing, it could be related to allergies, or what do I just tolerate? What do I like? And so we're going to talk about the different milks. And so just so you're right, because it can be confusing. You see all these milks out on the market and it's like, well, what is really good for me? I see advertisements for this. Should I be drinking almond milk? That stuff, I don't like it. But just so you can see, have the information, then you make the decision for yourself. What do I want to drink based off of what I like and for other different reasons that we will talk about. So we're going to start off with cow's milk. And you're going to see here in the little red, it's an allergen risk. So, because some people can't tolerate, they might be allergic, or they just might have a lactose intolerance. They may not tolerate cow's milk. But for most of us, we are able to. And so you are going to see a lot of numbers, a lot of information, and thankfully you have it in your slides, so you can refer to it later. So we won't cover every little detail. But what I do want you to notice here, between whole milk, low-fat milk, and skim milk, some of the numbers don't change. They're the same all across the board. Now the calories change because the different milks, depending on the percentage of the fat, they will be lower in calories, they will be lower in the saturated fats. And so, but with the protein is 8 grams all across the board for 1 cup of milk. And carbohydrates stays the same all across the board. So depending, some people, it's a flavor thing. For some people, they're like, well, I'm trying to watch my calories. For weight concerns, I'm going to choose low fat or skim milk. And some people prefer the whole milk, but they don't use a lot of it. So here's where you can kind of make the comparison. Well, what's important to me? Am I trying to watch the saturated fats because I'm concerned about my LDL cholesterol? Maybe you choose the low fat or the skim milk. And then as you're going to see here, all the milks, dairy milk tends to be fortified with vitamin D, which that helps your body to absorb the calcium for bone health. And you'll see other nutrients as well. But just kind of saying, okay, this is what I'm drinking, but what benefits? What am I getting from this glass of milk? That's what I also want y'all to see from these different types of milks that we're going to go through. Well, what benefit? What is it doing for my body if I choose to drink this type of milk? All right, so next, plant-based milks, which we have many up here for you all. It's always kind of interesting, well, how are they made? I know with cow's milk, you just milk the cow, but how do we make a plant-based milk? Where does this come from? Well, the bean or nut is pureed with water. That's the first thing. And then usually it's fortified. They're adding calcium and vitamin D, things that aren't naturally found in that particular nut or bean, and usually added protein. You've probably seen the, not the soy milks, but the almond milks that have now added protein. It's usually pea protein that they're adding. And then, so what are some of the benefits? Well, plant-based, some people, they're not able to tolerate cow's milk, and so this might be a safer alternative for them. And typically, because they're from a plant source, they're not going to have very little saturated fat, if any. But what you got to watch out for, which we're going to have some show and tell here later, ladies, to see, okay, well, are these sweetened or unsweetened? How much added sugar is in this drink? If I'm trying to watch the sugar or trying to watch the calories, that's where you can be informed by looking at the label. And we're going to look at that together here too. Alrighty, and so there's some samples, and we got some right here that Rich was gracious to bring in for y'all to see, hold, even sample. Like I said, you'll get to taste it. All right, soy milk. We had a few in the audience. I think 2 people drink soy milk, right? Okay. And so soy milk is one of the few that naturally is going to have its own protein. And it's pretty comparable to your cow's milk. And so, yeah, between 5 to 7 grams of protein, naturally lactose-free. So some people that can't tolerate cow's milk, they could tolerate soy milk. But some people, if they have a soy allergy, of course, they're not going to be drinking soy milk. And that's why, again, we've got an allergen risk. And then, yeah, often calcium is added. So you're kind of seeing the different benefits, some things that are added, but something it's already a good source of. Like, it's definitely a good source of protein. And with soy milk, yeah. Oh, yes?
So it's lower in leucine. What's leucine good for? What
Yeah, it helps with muscle, the protein synthesis, so helping your body to build muscle. Good question. In almond milk, we had a few almond milk drinkers. Yeah. And so you'll see the allergen risk because some people might have a nut allergy. And then with this one, often, you know, what's interesting, so almonds themselves, like if you're eating raw almonds, they definitely have a lot more protein. But almond milk is maybe 1 gram or less. So you're not getting, if you're drinking almond milk, don't expect to get the protein there unless it's been added. So you might be getting your protein from something else. But you will be getting calcium. And then depending, they're usually low in calorie, but again, watch the sugars if it's been sweetened. And then, like I said, we do have some samples of almond milk up here, cashew milk. I think we have, I'm not sure. No, I don't think we have cashew milk. But then it's going to be similar to your almond milk. And then not as much protein, which is interesting because like the whole nut itself is having the protein, but when it's processed to make the milk, it's very low in protein. So again, if you're trying to get protein, you'll want to have something else at your breakfast or at your meal. Naturally low in sugar, but you do got to watch if it's sweetened. Rice milk. We had 1 rice milk, right? Rice milk? Okay. So rice is naturally a source of carbohydrates. So this is one of the milks that is going to be higher in carbohydrates. So if you have diabetes or you're concerned about your blood sugar or other reasons, you might just want to be mindful of rice milk and how much you're having. But then also there's not much protein there because rice naturally also doesn't have any protein. But it's going to be fortified with calcium, some of those other vitamins. So there are things added to it. But the main thing here is that it's a nice alternative for people if they have a nut allergy or a soy allergy or they just don't like cow's milk. There's something like rice milk that could be an alternative for them. And then coconut milk. And we do have a coconut milk for y'all to try. And so with this one, coconut, again, lower source of protein. really the only ones you're going to have protein from, your cow's milk, your soy milk, and then if the nut milks have added protein. But then this one, yeah, also naturally low in sugar unless it is sweetened. And then let's see, right else. Yeah, just with the fat, because coconut can be a source, well, it is a source of saturated fat. And so kind of similar to like a higher fat dairy milk. If you're trying to watch the saturated fats for heart health, you might want to have less of this, but just being aware. Just being aware. And this is really, ladies, where you want to become savvy nutrition label readers, kind of saying, okay, well, if this is the milk that I want to choose, let me see, okay, let me check the fat, or let me check if there's any added sugars here if I'm trying to watch that. And you'll be able to see in these, and as you check the ingredients, what's been added to this milk. Has sugar been added if I'm trying to watch that? And so as I said in the beginning, depending which milk you choose, it's a personal decision. You know, if you have an allergy or an intolerance, that's going to determine what milk you choose. Or if you're really trying to get one that has calcium, if this is my main source of calcium, I want to make sure I find a milk that has enough added calcium. Or then, am I trying to get more protein? Because some of the milks will have protein, but as we saw, some don't. So keeping that in mind. And then talked a lot about the sugar. If you're concerned about added sugars, which mean added calories, and you're right, checking to see your label, because many of these can also be unsweetened, so they're not going to have added sugar. But checking there, that's going to determine your decision. And as you get an opportunity to do today, you can get to try some of these to see, well, maybe, okay, well, I've never tried goat's milk, or I've never tried actually soy milk, but you know, I'm curious just to see, might I really like this? Do I want to give it a go before I go buy it? We have some for y'all to sample today to see what you like, and that's really going to determine, I think, also what you choose. And lastly, you're right, you can vary it up. You don't have to have cow's milk the rest of your life. Maybe like, I want to try cashew milk for a while, or I want to try this for a while. You know, nothing's saying you have to stick to a certain one unless it's for a medical reason. You can try different types of milk. Also adds more variety and flavor. And so, as we prepare for y'all to sample, do you have any questions? Yes?
For diabetic, what would you as a dietitian suggest would be the best milk for someone who's diabetic, has diabetes?
Yeah, so there are a few, and actually we don't have one up, well, no, we do. This is actually a milk that I've recommended to some of my patients that have diabetes, the Fairlife milk. Has anybody tried this? Okay, so it's ultra filtered. It's just like your regular cow's milk, but because it's been ultra filtered, they've taken out some of the carbohydrates. So it's actually lower in carbohydrates, but higher in protein. And so total carbohydrates is only 8 compared to the regular 12, and protein is 13 compared to 8. So this can be a great Fairlife, and they have it in the low-fat milk and skim. We have the whole milk today. But this is a nice one, you know, if you're trying to like lower the carbohydrates, but up the protein, and it does taste good. It does taste good. I think y'all can attest, right? Yeah.
So is that cow milk?
Oh yeah, it's still made, from cow's milk. So that could be one if you're choosing a dairy milk, but even too, many of the almond milks, you know, are lower in carbohydrate if they're unsweetened. Check there too. But you can try.
I
Oh, yeah?
found Fairlife at Walmart. That size container was $3.98. Walmart has its own dairy brand, which is called Great Value. Great Value, there was a Great Value option for almost all of these milks. And they also have Mayola dairies, which was comparable in price, and there were several of them, those options that were Mayola. I have the shopping list so you can actually check the price.
Yeah.
But leave it for me so I can get reimbursed.
The other thing about the
Yeah.
Fairlife
Mhm.
is that because it's ultra high pasteurized,
Mhm.
it lasts forever.
That's
Oh, that too.
The date, the shelf life on it is like, what, 3 times as long as regular cow milk.
And it's lactose free.
And it's lactose free, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you're, you know, if you're, you know, don't have kids drinking a lot of milk and you're not a big milk drinker, but you like to add it every now and again, safe bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I remember milk is used not only for drinking, but for cooking. And since I know everyone here also is is a big freak for chocolate Jell-O pudding, sugar-free, fat-free. I just want you to know, pudding will not set if made with soy milk.
Oh.
Wah, wah, wah. So I don't know how other recipes
Oh.
react to other milks, but you know, somebody is food blogging about it, so just get on it. I will let Julie pour
Yeah.
for you. She'll be your toast.
You're welcome to come up. Oh, mhm.
I just have one more question.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
please.
Yes.
I just had one more question. You know how a lot of times people like track everything like in MyFitnessPal?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the recommended numbers that you would say for
Mhm.
if you're pre-diabetic
Mm-hmm.
for sugars and carbs? I mean, what would, how many milligrams, I mean, what should I be looking at each day, my total intake of those to be? Or is that even something I really need to track?
Well, yeah, if it's something you're concerned about as far as for diabetes, like if you have diabetes or if you're pre-diabetic,
Yeah.
if that's something, I mean, I could give you some general guidelines, but it can be something more very specific, yeah, as far as dietary needs for that. And I will let you know too, as well, one quick thing is, so if you're concerned about like the added sugars, and that's where, as you're going to see on many of these labels, there's now a line for included added sugars. So you can see what sugars were not naturally found in that food that have been added. So 1 teaspoon, ladies, you might want to write this down, 1 teaspoon is equal to 4 grams. And so if we were to do, oh golly day. So this one, that's why I brought this one up, because like, it's a shocker. So includes 31 grams of added sugar. Divided by 4, and so that's what, about 8?
7 3/4 packs
Yeah.
of sugar.
I mean, and that's
Which
added.
You could put that into your lemonade while your grandmother was watching.
Yeah, and so that's as far, and for most women it's recommended about 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day. Because sugar is one of those things, I mean, our bodies don't need, but sugar does add, flavor to many foods. But if you're trying to watch the added sugars for health reasons or for weight, it's about 6 teaspoons is the recommended per day. But 1 teaspoon is equal to 4 grams. And so when you see the line for included added sugar, you can just divide that by 4, and that'll help you to see, well, how many teaspoons of sugar, imagine putting that in your mouth if you're concerned about the added sugar.
Is that 1 serving or 2 servings?
This is for the 1 bottle. Please, just throw out a guess here. So this is, and I'll come back to your question, extra rich chocolate milk. This 1 bottle, how many calories do you think this is?
400.
Ooh,
380.
Yeah, I was gonna say about 380, 390.
it's 410, and total carbohydrates is 51. What I would recommend for women, like if we kind of break it down, like if you're looking at total carbohydrates per meal, it's about 30 to 45 grams. That's kind of your range for carbohydrates per meal. Now this is 51. That's a lot in just this drink. And like I said, it has 31 grams of added sugar.
Well, doesn't
That's
it
a lot
matter
of
too,
sugar.
if it's simple or complex sugar? I mean, simple sugar is sugar. Or sugar.
Yeah, and that's where the added sugars can help, because and that's where you check your ingredients. Like this has liquid sucrose. So just liquid sugar that's been added. So that's like the simple sugars, which that's what causes that spike in blood sugar. And
Because if you're
Yeah.
having a lot of carbs, but it's all from fruits and vegetables. Or
whole
fruits and
grains.
Vegetables,
Yeah.
you gotta, that's a different type of carb, so.
Yeah, and that's where you don't count the
30
sugar.
grams of sugar,
Yeah.
30 grams of fiber carb. Or complex carb.
Because when we talk about the added sugar, that's things like your sucrose, your regular table sugar, honey, maple syrup, high fructose corn syrup. It's those types of added sugars. The sugar that you naturally find in fruit and in dairy, as you'll see, that's something that's not part of that added sugar, 6 teaspoons a day. That's only for the things that are added. Does that make sense? Questions? So I would invite y'all, if you want to come up and if there's anything you want to sample, we have cups. If you want to sample several things, this is your opportunity. This is the show and tell part.